everyone. I think we are live on Facebook. I'm actually playing tech today. Diego's computer was glitching up, so we are here. So hopefully it works on Facebook. Hi,
Hi,
Instagram.
Judy.
So we're gonna get started. My name is Reina Montoya. I am the founder and CEO of Aliento, and I am with this guy.
Jose Patiño. With this guy.
Okay, so we're gonna get started. We're really excited. It's very, very good news. We're gonna be talking about DACA. We are not attorneys, so the way that we're gonna talk about it, we thought that there's amazing attorneys who already did their legal interpretation. Shout out to Ray, to Judy, to all the amazing attorneys that constantly update people on the legal side of things. But for us, both Jose and I are DACA recipients. I was frantically texting some of our fellows who are undocumented, who were too young to apply for DACA. I texted my aunt because my uncle could potentially apply now for DACA.
Your uncle?
My uncle, my
Cousin.
cousin. I don't even know how to speak English today, but you can tell I'm so excited. I don't even know what to say. But we're gonna break it down a little bit about what is this federal court order, what does that mean, and we're gonna play a little bit more like scenario based about some of the scenarios that we've been hearing about as people are considering if they should apply or not. We're gonna go into okay, now what happens? What do you need to do in order to prepare? And then we're going to go into some frequently asked questions. Actually, our DACA hotline has been blowing up through text and phone calls. So that's why we're going live so we can answer most of them. So we'll be asking some of the frequently questions that we've been getting. And then we would be having a good announcement at the end related about our approach at Aliento about what we're doing to support DACA recipients and potential new applicants at this moment. So, does that sound good, Jose? Did I miss anything?
No.
We'll be doing this in English, and then after this, we'll be going live in Espanol. So, we'll do it in English first, and then we'll go in Espanol. So, Jose, tell us a little bit about what happened in case people are like, oh, I didn't see the graphic, and this lady's just talking. So, what's going on?
So from the previous Supreme Court decision, what I meant is then the cases went back to the courts, right? And the fourth district, which and the judge was in Maryland, they decided they basically were took their time. They were able to analyze and they decided on a couple of things. So, to our understanding, it's a national order. What it would mean is they would restore the DACA program before September 5th, 2017. That means that initial DACA applications as well as advance paroles will be open. There hasn't been any guidance still from USCIS or DHS.
This just came hot, hot today. It just came kind of like people say hot off the oven, and just came
The
out
pressers,
today. The what?
the pressers, because the newspapers used to come out of pressers and they used to be warm.
Hot off the oven. I like the kitchen and I like baking. Even though that I'm not the best baker, my mom and my little sister are, but it's okay. Anyways, I just digress. Um, this just came out today, this morning, 10 a.m. Arizona time. So we're talking about around 1 p.m. Eastern time. So we're still waiting on the details. So that's why we are expecting that USCIS would be making an official statement about around this. But yeah,
Yeah, so it's similarly, right? So it still depends, right? Many of you have heard the administration is still threatening that they're going to let the program, meaning legal means, legal ways, and they're going to follow procedure for Supreme Court. What is still understood is that if you were to able to submit paperwork before that action is taken, and while still be processes, the application should be processed. So there are attorneys who are encouraging folks to submit their application as soon as they can, because that means that, let's say worst case scenario happens next Friday, the administration submits the paperwork and they close new applications. Those people who are able to submit between now and then, the application will still be processed. That happened with DACA as well, before it was rescinded the program in 2017. So that's why it's sort of like exciting, but also like frantically trying to gather all this information because uh, it's still not necessarily concrete because there's still it's DACA, as we know, it's a program that helps people like us, but it's not still a permanent.
Okay, Jose never lets us celebrate, which is okay because we need someone to ground us in the worst case scenario. So this is something that Jose already mentioned. Worst case scenario, we don't know when President Trump might be taking action on this. What we do know about the facts is that the next day, when the Supreme Court told us that the DACA program was going to stay, he threatened to end the program again. So he has the right to do it the way that the DACA program we were able to keep it alive was the fact that uh, that he didn't follow protocol. If you remember from our prior life. So at this moment, what comes next? We wanted to run a little bit like scenario based thinking and planning. So as Jose said, there might be a small window. We don't know. Nobody knows at this time. We just know that that is a big possibility based on the information that we have. So then, as Jose mentioned, this is not legal advice. This is what many attorneys are saying to go ahead and apply as soon as you can. So a lot of people are having these questions, Jose, about what would that happen? How can you apply? What can it do? And Jose, I know that you want to mention something that you're reading on Instagram.
Yeah, it's one of the attorneys that we work with closely since for years. Judy, like I mentioned,
Shout
is
out to Judy.
she's done a lot of great learning workshops with us as well as schools. Uh, she's just basically saying is that if your initial application and there's DACA counsels who are asking to be sort of like plaintiffs. If you would like to be in contact, and we'll send a contact of Judy to the folks, just in case there is this administration as a program again and we get into this whole legal limbo, there'll be a way you can pursue.
So awesome. Thank you so much, Judy, for letting us know. So then if you want to be a plaintiff, you can email her directly. She put her email on Instagram. So I'm going to ask Diego, who's behind the scenes, if you can copy her original message and put via Judy and her email. So then if you're interested in being a plaintiff, this would mean if you are going to be moving forward and applying as a new applicant, just in case if the Trump administration once again tries to end the program. So far, that's the information that we got. So we're gonna go into some scenario planning. So we've been talking to some of our interns, fellows, and friends that are already thinking about, okay, so what are my options? I think it comes down what are my options to if I am undocumented and I meet every single eligibility of the DACA program, should I apply? What are the potential outcomes that can happen? So why don't we go with the first one, Jose? Um, should they if they apply, what could happen to them?
Well, the best case scenario is the applications process and they're able to get into the DACA program and able to get those protections, social security number, and also driver's license and a work permit.
So base case scenario, you apply, you do everything, and then you're able to get your DACA approved. So, and that would be amazing news. You would be able to work, and then you would be protected from deportation as long as your DACA it is what is it called before it's expired?
Valid?
Valid. I can't, like today, I'm completely off. So the other case scenario, it was more about someone asked us, well, Jose, that's great. That's best case scenario. What about mid case scenario? What about if I do apply, I get it approved, but then President Trump gets reelected and then in the future he's able to successfully end the DACA program? What could happen to me?
Um, as we know, many reports, ICE has information of DACA recipients in terms of their addresses, in terms of sensitive information through various Freedom of Information request forms. So that is a fear that people have. The other thing is there is some legal protections under the DACA program, and you're able to have some sort of, you're now part of, in Mexico, they call us las joyas, las joyitas. What that means is like sort of this, how,
It literally translates to jewels that are
yeah, but it's basically a program that is protected and is popular, regrettably so, and if we haven't made enough strides, is there's still that stigma against immigrants, and the stigma if you're undocumented, you did something wrong, or you broke some rules and those things. And this DACA program, it's sort of when you say you're a DACA recipient or you're a dreamer, this is why I understand the empathy that exists, where it's more likely that it's a permanent solution in the future. You'll get it. There's more rights that you have in the meantime. So that is my interpretation of it. Again, everybody has their own choice whether to apply or not. I would encourage folks to do so. And the worst case scenario is that before 5 p.m. Eastern time, the Trump administration submits the paperwork to follow the legal means to end the DACA program, and that's what would happen.
So, okay, so that's kind of mid case scenario. Like, so that's a lot. I'm trying to process it. So the other question that we've been getting as well, Jose, is that what happens, um, what happens if I do apply and Trump gets elected too? Is he gonna is USCIS gonna share my information with ICE?
Well, we already know that ICE has access to that information through Senate hearings, as well as to freedom of information request forms.
Yeah, so that's always a risk. That's very terrifying to know that. But at the end of the day, we're telling you kind of like what could happen, what are the potential things, and you're gonna have to make that choice. You're gonna have to make that decision because that's something so personal. If you We are recommending that if you have ever had any encounter with ICE, with immigration, or with law enforcement, to contact an attorney as soon as possible before you file any paperwork, because we know that at the end of the day DACA is discretionary, meaning that the officer who's like reviewing your application can decide whether to grant it or not. So we know that typically if people have had prior deportation orders, have had contact with ICE, or have had contact with law enforcement, your case becomes a little bit more complex. So you definitely want to talk to a reputable attorney that you trust and that and that especially if you have any kind of law enforcement interactions or criminal convictions or charges, you want to make sure that your immigration attorney is also a criminal immigration attorney so they can see what are the consequences, because oftentimes people go to criminal attorneys and they don't really understand the immigration consequences, that they might not be so high for like a US citizen, but they can have really serious consequences when it comes to immigration. Is there anything that I'm missing in terms of scenarios, Jose?
Now, the only thing that I would tell the folks who uh, didn't apply for the DACA program because they were too young or for whatever reason before it was terminated, it's the reason that the DACA program is so popular is because of the amount of people who are participating in it and the success stories that you have across the board. Its strength of the program lies within more people applying and the program still alive and growing. Right now, it's about close to 640,000, a little bit under that. And that's why it's strong. So when you join and you become part of it, you're just not by yourself anymore in the shadows. You become part of it. So it's when they go after you, it's sort of like going into the whole program, right? And I think that is the strength of the program itself. Again, ultimately, I think you will have to make individual choices for yourself, whether or not, and nobody can. You can talk to your attorney, talk to your family as well. I'll just tell you what I would do and what I did. For me, it was like I was living undocumented and working in construction, not getting paid the hours that I was making, and not getting not pulled over by police and constantly getting tickets and some of my cars being towed. All that was just really frustration for me. That for me was a worthwhile investment. That's how I see it.
But
And
also you hadn't had a lot like criminal charges,
yeah,
you had not had any misdemeanors, so every case is different, every case is unique. And I think that people should really make the choice based on their circumstances. But Jose, you were on point. Like it, DACA has literally changed our lives,
yeah,
for the
we're in this
better.
house because of that. We got a government
Yeah.
loan through FHA. If not, we don't be eligible for it. We were able to get our master's. We were able to be a teacher in the classroom, able to start aliento because of that social security number and the work permit.
Was able to finally get a driver's license, even though we had to fight at the courts. And but now I have a driver's license, you know. So I think that definitely, like anything, it's a very personal choice. But for us, you know, it has completely changed and transformed our lives, and the opportunity not only for us to grow, but also the opportunity to support our families in many very different and meaningful ways.
Mhm.
So we're gonna move into a couple of like frequently asked questions that we've been getting. If you have a question, please put it on the comment box and we'll be answering it. If you have, we're getting some questions in Spanish, so we'll be answering them in the Spanish live, and we'll do the English version here. So then, si están escuchando en español, vamos a estar haciendo también un video en español. Entonces, sus preguntas se las vamos a contestar en español en el siguiente video y ahorita las estamos haciendo en inglés. So frequently asked questions. Okay, so how do I know if I qualify or if I don't qualify?
We have a checklist there that we're going to share as well on the website. So you can see what are the options. I can go them, but I think if I say them, people are not going to have the time to write them down. But basically, is you must have been under, you must have been born after June 15, 1981. You must have entered the country before you were 16
I
years old.
thought you were not gonna say them.
Saying that also.
I catch you. You can go ahead and say
It's
that.
okay. But it's a lot of requirements. And then also we have a list of the documents that you can use to prove your identity, that you have been in the country, and all these things that USCIS takes.
Yes, so as Jose said, we're making a checklist that is very easy to digest with all the requirements, and you have to meet all of them in order to be able to apply. If you are unsure, we have a DACA hotline that you can send us a quick text, or give us a call. Text is better for us because and that way we're able to answer to you more promptly. But you can definitely, if you want to have a conversation, you can call us. We are not attorneys, but we can help you guide you through the process. So if you're going to be asking us about like very specific legal advice, that's something that we cannot do, but we can give you the list of documents and the things that you can be going over the checklist and the intake to see if you would qualify. So the other question that we're getting a lot is like, what happens to advance parole? Can I still apply? Does this apply to advance parole? Can you talk about that, Jose?
Yeah, so understanding is advanced parole would open up as well as before the September 5th, 2017 resignation of the DACA program. And for those of you that don't know about advanced parole, which is a lot of folks, it's if you're a DACA recipient, you will have the ability to travel abroad for three main reasons. One of them was for a medical emergency of a family member,
Which is classified as humanitarian.
education conferences. You were to travel. That's why Reina and I were able to travel to Mexico.
So the other one is education purposes that can be either conferences or it can also be study abroad programs. And the third category?
It would be related to business or work. So if you have a business or things that you need to settle or work on in a foreign country, you could apply for that.
So for example, we have a good friend of mine who's a DACA recipient and who had business meetings in another country that he would still have to get proof and all of that. That is a very different process. You would have to file for the application that you can also access in USCIS, and you would also have to pay a fee that is a little bit over $500. It changed.
It changed?
Yeah, it went up significantly. So you can definitely like check it out there. And we would also have it in our website. So if you have any questions related to that, feel free to send us a message. As again, we're not gonna be able to give you legal advice or tell you what to do, but we can give you your options and we can give you any type of documentation that you're like, oh, I'm not sure about this. We can help you guide you through the process. Another question that we're getting, Jose, a lot is like, what are the documents that I need to get?
Again, those are going to be on our website. You need, but like the major ones that you need is your school records, your medical records, your passport, a translated birth certificate, your IDs, school IDs that you have, and bills, utility, anything that basically documents you have been in this country. And if you have any arrests or citations, those of you who needed them as well, because they have the information. DHS is in contact with the FBI and other local law enforcement. So that's why we recommend if you have this type of arrest, make sure to contact an attorney.
And something that is really, really important, part of one of the biggest things that they ask you about applying for DACA and being able to qualify is your home addresses. They want to know all your records. I know that when we were doing that back in 2012, that was a nightmare, especially for folks who moved a lot. So if you make sure that you're talking to mom, dad, or anyone that you grew up with, to make sure that you're able to document all the addresses that you've lived in, because that's something that you're going to have to disclose. And something that I didn't think about when I was like getting ready myself, that I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to prove that I came here before the age of 16? Some school records are really good, but sometimes you start schooling August, or sometimes like that's like people see it not as a good evidence. But something that typically happens before you enroll to school is that they ask you for your immunization records, your vaccine records. So typically, try to get the documentation, because that's gonna be one of the closest one to the day that you arrive. So that's something that you want to make sure that you're able to document, or you're able to find those documents. Another question that we've been getting, Jose, it's been around like, I'm a Mexican descent, or I am, and I need to get a identification. I only have school, so then they help, but they're not an actual valid ID. So I know that one of the requirements is to have a valid identification, and they're saying, well, because of the pandemic, the consulates are closed and they're only open for emergency. What can people do in that case?
Yeah, so that's one of the, I think that was the biggest issue that we encountered in the first phase of applications, is processing passports within the consulates. And then I know, for example, I'm from a small rancho, yeah, in Mexico, where it's like where they took days or months before they went to register you the birth certificate, or sometimes they didn't even register you. So that was like one of the biggest issues that some of the folks had. Hopefully, we don't have those, because those typically are a headache. But it's, I understand in this Mexican consulate, they're not open in terms of physically, but they're going to be able to provide services, correct?
I just spoke with our friends and partners here at the Mexican consulate in Arizona. So then they do have an email that is designated for help. So definitely send them an email, tell them your situation, that you want to apply for DACA, do it as soon as possible, because we don't know when the program is going to remain. So you want to make sure that you contact them. If you're not in Arizona, you can contact or maybe you're not Mexican, you're like, hey, I'm from Guatemala. What are you talking about? Or El Salvador. You can contact your consulate and let them know and explain the situation. So.
And then the other thing is that the birth certificate must be translated into English. Any document that you have in just must be translated into English.
And that's not only the birth certificate, that's, as Jose mentioned it, I was just trained as a teacher, so repetition is a plus. Any document that it is not in the English language, you have to submit the original and have to have a translation. So there's people that do that for a living, that they translate documents, and that they do that and they certify it. It doesn't have to be certified. You just have to add some language saying that you translate it at the best of your abilities, but you want to make sure that that doesn't prevent you from actually getting the approval um, from USCIS. I believe we had a comment or question, Jose, on Instagram.
Yeah, one of the questions is from Luigi Man. Hopefully I'm saying that correct. He's moving to California. He wanted to know if he'll be eligible for scholarships in California as a DACA recipient, and the answer is no. The way the in-state tuition scholarships work, like AB 540 and the California Dream Act, is you must have graduated from a California high school for at least 2 years. And the reason being, I can go back, but it's because of the 1996 immigration legislation that were passed, whereas you can get in-state tuition just solely based on residence of a state. If you're undocumented, you must also have a separate requirement. And most of those policies that they pass is a graduate from a high school in the state. So if you graduate from high school in the state of California and then move to Arizona and then move back, then you'll be eligible.
Very good. So it is attached, as Jose said, if you went to a high school in California in order for you to qualify for that in-state tuition. In the little short version. We're getting another question, and the question, Jose, is what if you have already applied and were denied? What happens to the documents USCIS already has? Where can I translate my birth certificate? So there's many questions. I'm gonna go first. So what if you already applied and got denied? What happens with the documents USCIS already has?
USCIS typically sends them to you, your packet, and they have a file record of you. That's typically when they send a letter, they have the like I think it's a 10-digit number or 9-digit number at the top, and they have your record. You can as Reina mentioned, there are people who specifically translate documents.
Let's go back to that before we go to the translation. They would keep the documents that they have for their records, so then they would just give you like a denial letter. They don't return the whole package, Jose. And then the other thing that it is important about that is that you can always reapply. You want to know why they deny it. Did they deny it because it was before the judge orders, or did they deny it before you didn't submit enough evidence? So you want to know the reason why, because you can reapply. The only thing is that you're going to have to submit the $495 fee again, because with the DACA program, there's not a way that you can appeal the decision. You can still resubmit, but you just have to know the why they deny it to make sure that it doesn't happen again and you don't lose your $495.
Yeah, typically if they say request for evidence letter because they want to know more things. I know I got one when I was doing my renewal, and it's what they wanted, a document. So oftentimes, that's something that they typically do before they deny.
Okay, are there any other questions, Diego, that we're getting? No questions? Okay, so we are gonna be wrapping it up. As I said, this is the latest that we have. This just happened today, less than 5 hours ago. So we are gonna be getting more developments. Just make sure that you are, if you have more questions, you can definitely send us a text message or put it on the chat, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. We do have a DACA toolkit that includes the most frequently asked questions, that is going to have the checklist with the documents that you need. It's going to have all the requirements in order to know if you qualify for DACA or not. That is super easy. Diego, if you can drop in the link right now, it's alientoac.org/DACA, and we have the English and Spanish as well. And then we are getting one more question that we're seeing, and then we're gonna do our announcement. I almost forgot. So it says, is the process to apply for DACA long?
It depends how well you have able to gather the documents to prove your case of your stay in the country. For me, because it took me a while to get all the documents, the school records, the vaccines, the medical. So it took me several months to get all those things in order. So it can be long, but I know other folks who was much shorter. It all depends on how well organized you have of all the records that you have kept since you've been in this country.
And then where can you translate the birth certificate? It depends. I would definitely just like go on Google and then make sure that they have a good services. I know that there's a couple of people that do that for a living. So make sure that they do that. Some attorneys offices also do that as well. So you can definitely do that. We're going to be compiling some resources in the upcoming weeks. And if you we're going to be looking specifically for folks who do it remotely, as like virtually, or we are also going to be doing putting a couple of resources that we trust. So again, go back to our toolkit. We just heard this news, so we're going to be compiling those resources. So please be patient with us. So in the meantime, just try to get all the documents and make sure that the translation is the last thing that happens. Jose, I know you were like antsy letting me know, we have another comment, we have another question. So go ahead, why don't you read it? Because I it's hard for me to read from this far.
Yes. How likely would you say that someone gets accepted? Is how likely is that a DACA Trump? Um, I don't. Well,
Can you
technically,
clarify the question maybe if you put it down? Can you let us know like, yes, this is what I'm asking, or Jose's gonna answer it kind of like what we think, but if that's not what you asked, please clarify.
yeah. So my understanding is how likely is that somebody submits an application, even though Trump doesn't say anything whether they will accept or not accept. Um, the understanding is a federal judge order, a national order. So USCIS has to oblige unless otherwise it's another action like a program before they can actually be implemented. That would be the way, as well as in terms of how likely can get percentages, but that's how it should work.
And that's with the information that we know. As we said, is like we keep up with these things. We've been doing this work for like for me it's been 10 years, for Jose a little over 10 years. So it is complicated. We just got the information, and like nobody can predict the future, right? We can give you the best estimate that we have, but I think if people are saying, I guarantee you 100% that if you come with me and pay me X amount of money, then you're gonna be able to get your DACA. Please be aware that sometimes there's bad people in the world, or people who want to take advantage of vulnerable communities. So ensure that that you are paying attention. And if people are telling you that they guarantee you a result for 100%, that's typically a big red flag that you want to pause a little bit to ensure that you're not being a victim of fraud or a crime.
Yeah. And then the other question was how much is the fee for the DACA application?
495. It's the same fee for renewals and for new applications.
Yeah, and also I think Luigi Man put a comment on that USCIS is run out close for biometrics, and a tip how folks can get that documentation. So if you're all interested, I'll read the comment because that is something that'll be helpful for get people to get fingerprints.
Any other questions?
It seems that be it, at least on Instagram. On Facebook, I don't see any.
Okay, so we're gonna announce that we know that we're living through a pandemic. It is very, very difficult. So then in this moment, we're getting a lot of questions as well, like, hey, like I wanna apply, I really wanna apply as a new applicant, or I really wanna renew my DACA, but I don't have the 495. What can I do? So we had a little huddle in the Aliento team, and we make a decision that today we're gonna be launching and releasing a fundraiser where 100% of the procedures are gonna be going to DACA renewal fees or first time applicants. So Diego is actually gonna put the link there. We were not expected to be doing this fundraiser, but we've been getting so many questions, and we know that the need is really, really great. So if you can pitch in $10, $20 or any type of money that you can do, or maybe you wanna fully sponsor one DACA applicant, it takes $495 to fund a DACA applicant. We are gonna be giving 100% of the funds that we get directly to DACA recipients. We're not gonna be giving the money the way that we have done it before, because we have given about, I would say, like close to 200 scholarships before for the 495 to individuals. The way that we do it, we write a check for 495 in the name of the Department of Homeland Security. So then if you're one person in need, either because you're undocumented or applying for DACA for the first time, or you're renewing your DACA, you're gonna have to fill out the form that Diego is also gonna be putting the link there in order for us to tell us like your need. We're gonna be doing it based on financial need, and we have an internal criteria that we're gonna do it. You're just gonna have to be patient because right now we have zero money, so we are gonna be giving as many scholarships as how much money we're going to be able to fundraise. As I said, 100% of the money that we raise is going to be given directly to DACA recipients. So So yeah, so that's the thing. That's what we're gonna be doing as Aliento to support the undocumented and DACA community in these moments of need. So definitely, there's 4 things that we're doing as Aliento. One of them, we're trying to give you information as much as we can right now, connected to the appropriate resources, and also are revamping our toolkit, which is super easy. alientoac.org/DACA that Diego has put in the comment box. 2, we are launching our fundraiser for DACA applications for first time in renewals, and we're gonna hopefully then fundraise money so we can give it out to people. And then 4, we're renewing your DACA. So then let's say that you're like, actually, I have the 495. That is not a barrier for me to renew or to apply for the first time. So we're also helping renew and apply for the first time for your DACA. So the way that you can do it, you can go to the same website that I gave before, and you can go to renewal or first time applicant and fill out the form. So then we can set up a virtual appointment with Laura. So just be patient. We're getting a lot of requests. So we'll be getting to you within the 2-week period. Anything else, Jose?
No, that was a lot, but now we're good.
4 things. So renew or get your documents to apply for the first time, and we'll help you. We have the information checklist. Please be patient. We're gonna be updating this as soon as possible. We're fundraising money, so if you can support with anything, please do that. And then 2, if you need the money in order for you to apply, make sure that you fill out our form, so then we can have it in the waiting list in the moment. Is there anything else, Jose?
No.
No, this was a very long one, more than expected, but we want to make sure that you have the latest information. So thank you so much. Have a good Friday. Happy Friday, happy news, and hope you have a good day. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, bye. Oh.
Diego, I don't know how to stop it. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed for my friends on Facebook. This is the first time that I am doing it on Facebook. So, Diego, I need you to unmute yourself and help me.
So, I'm going to click down there on the 3 dots where it's more. Okay. Into Zoom, and then just end stream.
Okay. Sorry, Facebook folks. Now I'm heading over. Bye.